Next, we have the issue of the shooter, Aaron Alexis himself. Now, just last week, FBI and law enforcement came out with information that Alexis had a Facebook page that had very little activity on it, that he named himself Mohammed Salam, but they preface it with saying they had found nothing else that might implicate that he had any violent jihadi interests or even any interest in Islam. Now, what I find interesting is why they even release this information. If this Facebook page has no further implication, then it would seem absurd for them to even release this information. So I wonder if this is a bit of information now they've planted that later we're going to possibly see some other ties to some type of group, jihadi group, or some type of Muslim group, or some type of ties to Islam. And next, and most importantly, we have this video that the FBI released about a week and a half after the shootings. Now, this video is 30 seconds long. It is very sparse in terms of camera angles. Considering how many cameras would be on a military installation, it is very questionable as to why they only include these couple of angles in this very small, concise video. Why they would even release this video is a whole nother question. They did not release videos of Sandy Hook or other shootings in the recent past, and it's as though they're trying to answer some questions by releasing this video, but in a way, all it does is raise more questions to me. So let's look through the video real quick and then analyze some of the issues that come from this video. So he comes into the parking garage at the Navy Yard. He walks into building 197. The next shot, we see him with the assembled shotgun that he brought in with him, walking down a hallway. Then we see him in the next shot walking down a stairwell into the last hallway we see of him, where there are people in the background at the very end of the hall walking, and the video is over. Okay. So a couple issues with this video. One is why they would even include him coming into the parking garage. That seems absolutely ridiculous. If you only are bringing out a 30-second video, the fact that you're going to even include this shot seems very bizarre to me. But even more than that, we can't see anything. We can't really see a license plate number, and plus he was driving a rental car, so we couldn't even tie this car to him really. And we can't see anybody in the car. So for all case in point, this could be anybody driving a car at any time in any vehicle. In the next scene, we see him walking into the building. And as we see him walking into the building, there's a couple of other issues that are raised. One is that he is wearing this shirt, and if you look at the way the shirt is on him and is hanging onto him, it looks as though this is a cotton blend shirt and not necessarily a polo 100% cotton shirt that we see in the next scene. There's a couple of things about it. One is that there seems to be a slight plaid pattern instead of just a stripe, horizontal pattern. Next, we see this kind of way that men's dress, button-down dress shirts would fall, where there's kind of a pleat almost in the back where the fabric is gathered. The way that it falls is much more stiff. It is loose. It is not tighter, as we see in the next scene, where the polo shirt has an elastic place around the arm, and as we see how it's here. Also, here's his bag that apparently he is carrying with him a shotgun that it was disassembled conveniently in this black bag that looks questionably black to me. So he enters in, and we can clearly see at this point that he's wearing a polo 100% cotton shirt that is fitted around the arm, that doesn't hang loosely, that is not bunched in the back, is not a button-down shirt. So I want to just make that clear that these two videos could be taken at two different times, given that potentially he wasn't wearing the same shirt in the first video. Now, this is the most important part of this video, and I suggest that you take a look at it, try to find some software to zoom in on it. The people in the background are clearly shorter and taller than each other. We have a taller person that looks like an adult first walking. We have several shorter people that look as though they're children, and then we have another tall person. Having been a classroom teacher for many years, I know how children and teachers or adults walk, where there's an adult, then multiple children, and then another adult at the back of the line. When I zoomed in, even the second to last person clearly was somebody that was incredibly shorter. Now, the likelihood, unless this Navy base had a whole bunch of little people working for them, would be the assumption that this is a bunch of children walking in a row. If we look at the relationship of height between the ceiling and the window, and the relationship of height between the other two people that are walking that we see at first and at last, it is very questionable. I did a lot of research to try to see if there was a daycare or a school tour going on at this time, and I could find nothing at this building, at this Navy Yard, at the time of the shooting. You would think if children were present, if there were some type of school tour, this would be a media blitz, and we would hear about the fact that there were children in this particular office building at the same time in the same hall that Aaron Alexis had a gun and they had it on camera. So I do find this whole question of people walking in their height at the end of the video, quite questionable. And then he runs down, we can see the rest of the people walking at the very end, and we can clearly see the height difference as they're walking. Like I said, I suggest that you go and look at that video. Now let's try with the software I have, which isn't good on this particular device I'm using to capture this video, but we can see the difference of the angles and the height between the people. And this is questionable about whether or not that video was even taken on the day of the shooting.